thinking about some of the songs that are dealing with love at first sight. I heard two in my spirit, man, that go hand in hand with each other. Roberta Flack. This one everybody know. First time ever I saw your face. Thought the sun rose in my and the moon and stars were the gifts you bring to the dark. Brilliant writing. In the endless skies, my love. You know, my brother Rodney he called me a few days ago. We were in some kind of conversation, and then he said, "You know what, Walter? I was listening to this song by Roberta Flack on my way home from church. It just came on the radio, and he said I heard it, and I started to weep in the car. It either was on the radio on I think it might have been on a tape or a CD or something like that, because I think he said he kept rewinding it. It might have been on his phone, and he says I heard it, and I just kept weeping and crying. I said, You little punk." You know, brothers tease each other. But then when we got off the phone, first of all, I told him this because it's one of the greatest songs ever written. Roberta Flack is one of the greatest artists out there. All right, to me, especially female, and the lyrics are so gripping. And then the prosody between the music and the lyrics. That's what prosody means. It's a marriage of the melody and the lyrics. Took us into a perfect storm. It took us to a place, an imaginary place, whether we've never fallen in love before. That song brought us to a place where that is possible, or we were feeling like we were in love while listening to it. It just a brilliant masterpiece of a song. But the other one was this one in Frankie Valli, in whom you young people never heard of. My eyes adore you, though I never laid a hand on you. My eyes adore you, like a million miles away from me. You couldn't see how I adore you. So close, and yet so far. Okay, it goes into this. I think it says you were 16, I was 15 or something. Da, 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 da. I may have the age mixed up. Then from school. It's a beautiful song. Keeps changing keys. All right, these songs here, these melodies, are gripping to our souls. Some of the greatest, many of the greatest love songs that ever were written by men. These are songs that are written from men to women, and many of the women who sang some of the greatest songs out there, we thought that the women themselves wrote them, although they recorded them. But if you look at the background and the lyric. Go to Google and look at the lyrics, you'll see at the top or at the bottom who wrote it, and most times it's a man. Why? Women have this notion that men don't love like they do, And I'm sorry to tell you, not true. I'll tell you about it more in 60 seconds. Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking, and where the topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, 'cause he's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones. He's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones Show.
Come on in. The water's fine. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is evening edition, baby. How y'all is? Come on in. Water fine. Today we're talking to you about love at first sight. Men, especially. Do they fall in love? Yes, they do. You know, in the scriptures, we see some of the greatest, most gripping stories of men who fall in love with women. We often look at relationships in the Bible, especially the Old Testament, as an arrangement, which many times they were. From the time that Adam was created and Eve came up out of him, he loved her. Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. It wasn't just about sex, although someone I saw in the YouTube comment says sex was basically only for procreation, as if God didn't make it for enjoyment between a husband and a wife. Yes, it was that he be fruitful and multiply, sure. But that multiplying didn't mean every time you had sex, you had to have a child. And some of the religions out there believe that you can't pull out if you're inside of your wife. You can't pull out because that goes against God's plan. A couple of religions are like that. And one reason why God killed Onan is because he did not want to have children, not because he could have had sex with his new wife, which was his dead brother's wife. That was the law back then. You had to marry your brother's wife. He could have enjoyed sex with her, and he could have just pulled out. He could just pulled out for other reasons, only because he pulled out because he didn't want to have a child. Now that's the number one reason why you would pull out is because you don't want to have a child. So it was obvious he pulled out for that reason. And God had to kill him because he was trying to spit in God's face about going against the law. But around the scriptures, we do see the love that Jacob had for his woman. All right, there was two that was given to him by his uncle Laban, and he only was in love with one, just one. You students, put it in the comment section. Can you tell me which one was he madly in love with? The other one wanted him to love, but he couldn't. He just couldn't. And she kept having children for him and says, now my husband will love me, and it never happened. All right. You can't just do an act and then cause a man to fall in love with you. But my point is, men do fall in love, and at first sight, there is this attraction that knocks them off their feet. And then men turn into boys and start doing crazy, funny things. So you would have to go to my book. I don't know why I never have it handy. The 4 Women That Men Desire. I push that a lot because everything I talk about is in the fabric of that book. That is the foundation of all things that men go through was in that first book. If you don't have it, you got to get it from Amazon. Get it. There are 3 other books that's with it. 2 other books, actually. The 3rd one is on its way. So there'll be 4. But that book there talks about what a man sees when he first walks into a room and see you. Something happens, and then what he does is, unconsciously, he puts you into one of 4 or all 4 brackets. Girl A, girl B, girl C, girl D. It depends on who he is, and because it doesn't matter so much what you are, it's what he sees. My book often I refer to throughout the chapters. I say this is not about what's right. This is not about what's wrong. This is about what is. We can fix the rights and the wrongs, which I do at the end of the book in chapter 7. The renewed mind, I call it. We can fix that at the end of the chapter of the book. But at the beginning and the middle of the book, how he sees you is determined by who he is in himself. You understand? That's why he acts the way he do with you now. It's not always because you said something and did something and you're like, that's not me, that's not me. Yes, that's not you. But what he see is something else. And this is how a woman can then process her mate or her man by trying to figure out what is it that he see. It's all about what he sees, whether it's right or wrong, which will determine whether you want to stay or go. Because everything starts in the mind. Then what is the heart doing? All these things. The man looks at you. He may be dyslexic. All right. He may see something that's not really there. It's like a person who struggles with is that bulimia? Which one of those deficiencies or where the person keeps eating and then they vomit. All right. They look in the mirror. And they are skinny. They're skinny like my finger, but they don't see skinny. They see someone who's overweight, and so they keep starving themselves. All right, is it anorexia or is it bulimia? Which one? I guess them mixed up. Y'all put in the comment section to help me out here. This is a pre-recorded show, by the way, so I can't see comments. All right, and so the falling in love part is he sees you and he's absolutely blown away by either your attractiveness on the outward core or by your attractiveness inwardly. He sees you moping around doing things and he's attracted by how you could be a plain Jane. And in his mind, you are plain Jane, but he is so attracted by your aura or how others are affected by you. He's like blown away. Coming to America, the first one with Eddie Murphy. When he came to America to find his bride, he was at Queens, and he went to the barbershop, told him to go over there to the little event that they were having, all right, where Sexual Chocolate was performing. When that girl came on the stage, all right, what's her name? Is it Lisa? What's her name? When she came on the stage, to me, now, I might get in trouble for this. To me, she was not that attractive. To me, she was not outwardly. She just was playing to me, and I know to some men, the high yellow girl gets the king attention, but to me, she just was okay, you know. He was like Twitter pated over her. When I saw her, I was like, cute, but it wasn't until I heard her what she was doing. Her philanthropic work. And as the show progressed, I started falling in love, not for real, but I started falling for this character in the movie. Because when I first saw her, I was like, she's cute, but whatever. The girl I saw in the audience was finer than her. And then the way her character, that meekness in her pulled me into the screen. But Prince Akeem saw, pow, right away, that beauty. And so men fall in love, yes, through the attractiveness of what she looked like first. But then for some men, it just may take a little while and he starts seeing something that he didn't see for the first time. And again, I bring that out in my book. Now, in this article here, I'm going to show you, it says, here are 20 things men have to say about love at first sight. All right? See if I can go there. All right? Here are 20 things. Let me make sure that you guys are still here. Let me remove myself here. Okay, 20 things. Now here are some of the things that the people are saying, the men are saying. Two people meet eyes across a crowded room and feel that there's a spark between them. A couple says that they met and just knew that it was true love, real love. And another pair say that though they couldn't explain it, they were each 100% convinced that they would marry the cute person they met at a party. But when you start hearing what some men were saying about love at first sight, you'll see 20 things that men say. No matter where we fall, when it comes to falling in love this way, we can definitely relate to a lot of the responses. This guy, it's not possible because love isn't a fairy tale. This is one guy. All right. As you go on, you start seeing different takes. Seeing what someone looks like tells you nothing. That's what he says. He thought it existed, but it led to a breakup. It exists, and this guy is now happily married with children. Love is about feelings, and you need to really get to know someone. There it is. That right there was my case watching the movie. It's attraction at first sight. That is so true. It can lead to a really good relationship. Absolutely. He didn't think it was a thing, but then it happened to him. He felt it and imagined a future together. It only happens in movies and is for needy people. I guess not. All right. Love at first sight could lead to true love, but it's just a crush at first. Yes, in many cases it is. It exists, and it's all about eye contact. That should be up to number 1, even though it's number 9. It's close. He jokes that he falls in love at first sight all the time. It happened to him, but he needed a second chance with that girl. We're almost there, y'all. It never works out for this guy. Something's wrong with this guy. Maybe looking back, you think it was love at first sight, but it wasn't. I've experienced that. It just wasn't. One bad move from her, you can't just fall out of love in over a 24-hour period. Love is serious business, so love at first sight makes no sense to this guy. He has felt it a lot, but can't totally explain it. Number 2, the best kind of love comes later at once you're in a solid relationship. I see. And then number 1, sometimes it happens with the wrong person. I agree right there. Sometimes it happens with the wrong person. All right. And some of you out there are testifying that this is true. But when I read this article here, it talks about why men fall in love at first sight more often. Here's what it says, and see if you can agree. It's saying it's official. Men fall in love faster and more times than women. I've often talked about this, and women did not agree with it until they started to doing their own little special Google searching. But what's love got to do with it? There have been numerous studies, findings, and discussions about different between men and women when it comes to falling in love. You understand? Findings of a recent study published in Evolutionary Psychology in 2010 may shed some extra light on sex difference when it comes to falling in love. Now, the authors of this study, they give a long line of the Department of Psychology of the University of California. All of these say they found that more men report more episodes of love at first sight than a woman who report having the same number of love relationships. And this is, they say, is arguably an indicator that men are more susceptible than women to fall in love early on. And previous studies also show men are more likely to report a feelings of love early on in their relationship, as early as within the first 4 dates. And I believe a lot of this has to do with how a woman process what love is. It's not so much what she sees and that she wants it. Men are tangible. Men operate through their eyes. They see it and they want to conquer it. Women needs a little pulling on the heart because she walks by her heart. She lives by her heart, and her ears are the portal to her heart. It says, however, in the study of the Andrew Galperin and Marty, this became non-significant when controlled for sex drive. Now sex is involved. Men, but not women, who tended to overestimate others' sexual interest in them fall in love more frequently, suggesting that some men might be reporting some episodes of sheer sexual desire as love at first sight. You are sexually overtaken by her, and you think it's love, but it's just you got a little rising going on in your flesh. The men who cared more about the attractiveness of their mate were especially more likely to fall in love if they found their partner highly attractive, and if they found them young. Where'd that come from? Young. This is one reason why a lot of older men, when their wives die, especially in the church, pastors and bishops and apostles, and they're in their 70s and 80s, and then wife died, guess who they marry next? They marry somebody they're not just their daughter's age, but their granddaughter's age. It may explain why men, more than women, also reported falling in love with a partner that did not love them back. Man, I could never go down that road again. Ever. I've been there. It is the most heartfelt thing, heart-busting thing, breaking thing that could happen. We found that relative to women, a lower percentage of men's love was reciprocated. This supports the idea that for men, falling in love might function as a signal of commitment that sometimes persuade women to enter a relationship and sometimes does not. This piece of information may be helpful to men in understanding why their declarations and demonstrations of love, especially in the initial stages of the relationship, tend to be met with no interest from the opposite sex. None. The information may also be useful for women who wonder why someone who was so into them so quickly and so deeply in the initial stages of the relationship is now foot dragging and unable to seal the deal and commit because you didn't understand the process of the men. And if you are overly aggressive in trying to get that man to sleep with you because you think that's to stay in power, you are highly mistaken, and you're going to find yourself being upset because after a while, there goes the word ghost. And women like to blame the ghosting on men when both of you, first of all, you're not communicating, you're not talking about the process. You just don't talk about it. You're going through the assumption stage. You just want to date, you're attracted, y'all talking Google stuff, and then bam, there is, the booty call is not just one side anymore. More and more today, women are taking the aggressive role over men on everything that usually was relegated to men. The dating process when I was coming up, when I saw my parents, their generation was the man was the aggressive one. He was the chaser. He was the one that called the house. He was the one that came by the house. He's the one that paid the bills, went out to eat. He paid, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I don't know when it happened, women are the aggressive ones. They're doing all of the calling. They're the ones showing up at the house. They're the ones taking the guy out to eat, and she's paying the bills. And she's the one doing the booty calls, all this stuff. And the man just sits back and say, hey, I'm enjoying this. This is good. And then he just feels like this is just something that they do. And in him committing doesn't really happen in many of them because you've taken away that power and that instinct that God has given him, the joy of the chase. The thrill of the chase has been taken away from him, and he don't even know why he doesn't chase anymore. He don't even know why, but he don't understand. He's is a harem around him. They're constantly pulling at him, and they're inboxing and texting, what have you, showing themselves as the man. And he's like, why work hard? I don't need to work hard anymore. For what? Okay. Until then, sometimes a woman then realizes the error of her way, and then she back up. She stopped the communication. She stopped calling, what have you. Then he's like, where is she? She haven't texted me in 3 days, 4 days. Oh man, I'm missing that. I like when she did this and did that, did this, did that, and then he starts to call and starts his chase. If he starts his chase, that means he misses something. But what does he miss? One of two things. He missed all the things you were doing and he wants you to get back to doing those things, or he actually was in love. But you were overshadowing him with so much he didn't have to do anything, and you was making this man a lazy lover. He was becoming an infidel. He was becoming a pauper, or whatever you call those, a miser, and you were just putting all this stuff on him. He didn't have to work. So when you went away and you ghosted him, he realized, oh my goodness, I'm missing this. I want this. And he starts picking up the chase. It's like a woman who tries to get a man to be chivalrous. He don't know what chivalry means. He didn't see it. And when he was coming up, he didn't have a father who did it. So his mother might have raised him. Okay, he might have saw an uncle do it, which may have helped him a little bit. But these guys today didn't see chivalry. So y'all go walk to the car. He don't know how to open your door. Then you get upset with him. He never saw it. So you got to show him what you like. You can't show him how to be a man, but you can show him what you like, which helps him understand that must be my position. Okay, that's my turn. So, one time I took a girl out. Man, this was years ago when I knew chivalry, but I got sidetracked. And we walked to the car, and I went to my door, and she went to her door, and I got in, and she stood outside that door. She would not get in the car. I was like, oh, my goodness. Now, of all people, know better. How did I miss that? I got out, and I said, excuse me, and I opened up the door. She said, thank you, and sat in. I said, when we got in the car, I said, thank you for doing that. She said, no, I just my father just taught me better. I said, thank you for reminding me. I said, I know better too. I must have been distracted by your beauty, and I don't know what it is, but thank you for doing this, because this helps men. All right. So instead of fussing and arguing with men and what they don't do, you have to understand they may not have seen it. So you can take their hands and show them what you want. So again, you can't show them how to be a man. Only a man can do that. And that's the misnomer that women have on Mother's Day or Father's Day, saying that they are the father. It's impossible for a woman to be the father. Absolutely impossible. That is a freak of nature, and that only can be made in the mindset of someone who's ridiculous, which means it doesn't exist. That's only in the movies. But God made male and female, and that's it. All right. So that love at first sight can be kind of tricky. And if you're in a situation right now, you don't know whether he is, whether he's not, then it's time y'all start talking about that. These songs are great. I love them. And there's hundreds or thousands of those songs like that. We talk about love at first sight, and the lyric form in them are so beautifully explained that expresses the heartfelt of a man. And there are a lot of men out there who feel what Frankie Valli felt. My eyes adore you, though I never laid a hand on you. My eyes adore you. Listen to those words. Like a million miles away from me, you couldn't see how I adore you. So close, and yet so far. Then it goes back into his childhood, walking home from school or something like that. Okay. It's great. Google the lyrics to that song. It will bless you. All right. I don't want to go long. Especially these pre-recorded shows, are only about 30 minutes long. All right. I think I'm at that time. I don't have the clock keeper here, so I got to look at my clocks around the computer somewhere. All right. I appreciate y'all. Come back again. Hit the share button if you're on YouTube. Subscribe and boop. Hit the thumbs up. And if you are on Facebook, go ahead and share this with someone who may be interested in this little ditty that we're talking about today. Love at first sight. It's a great thing when it happens. But when you think that's what it is and that's not what it is, it's a bad thing. So you got to talk about it. Like I said the other day, pray with your mate or pray with your girlfriend, pray with your boyfriend. If you pray with each other and ask God on how y'all should go by your steps as you're leading up to something, or leading up to, we made a mistake, this ain't working. Save yourself, because once you decide to walk into that institution called marriage, I'm sorry, it's too late. And what I mean by too late, I'm not saying it's too late, meaning you can't divorce or separate. But why would you want to be a statistic? You don't want to be a statistic. Don't even go there. It's best that you just not. I can't do it. I was about to bring up this whole COVID thing, but I can't because when I do, it makes y'all fight. So I gotta go. I love y'all. We talk to you tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this show. Bye bye.
Well, goodbye. 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 Enjoy yourself. Bye. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Well, goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Girl A. Sex is her superpower. This woman got skills, but adds no value to him. Girl B. Her brains and beauty is her birthright. She's his eye candy and his arm piece. Girl C. She's his mama, his teacher, his better half, his soulmate, and the apple of his eye. Girl D. She's dangerously desperate. She's his thin line between love and hate, and his fatal attraction. All that and more in the 7-volume book series, The Men's Chronicles, A Woman's Guide to Men by Sir Walter Jones. Volume 1 is entitled The 4 Women That Men Desire. Go to Amazon.com today for your copy.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Sirwalterj Jones Show.
Goodbye.